Yeah, that's not gonna affect your tone. Okay, let's go. We're gonna wait about 2 to 5 minutes and then we'll get started. Hi everyone, we're gonna wait about 2 to 5 minutes and we'll get started. I'm doing the live stream too, so. And if anyone needs a pen, you can grab one. Stand back. And yeah, if you want to take off your mask, you can. While you're sitting down, but if you get up and walk around, just put it on. Okay, I know it's kind of a one shot, but do you guys No, I think that's not supposed to remember. Okay. Hi, we're about to get started. So I have a live audience here and I have you guys here. So I probably won't be addressing you directly, but if you have any questions throughout the live stream, it's probably easier if you go to our Facebook live stream because there we can answer your questions easier. And otherwise, if you sign up for the workshop, you'll get the slides anyway, even if you couldn't come in. So yeah, you'll be getting all the notes and the slides. Let me know if you can't hear me or if you can hear me. Give me a thumbs up. All right, we're gonna get started. Hi everyone, my name is Jessie. How many of you, I've met you before, but I don't think I've met you. Are you all new? First time? Oh, cool. How did you first hear about the event? Oh, meetup? Okay, cool. Oh, cool. Oh, cool. Awesome. Cool. Okay. That's good to know. It helps. And you? Instagram? Cool. Awesome. Well, I'm Jessie. I'm the owner of the space. And we just really love to host these workshops. We had to take a pause during quarantine. Thank you. Well, thank you. I have a lot of this. Yeah, so we were doing them virtually, and I really like doing those, and so that's why now that we're open, we're hosting these. We are taking any recommendations, so if you have any ideas afterwards, feel free to talk to me, and let's get to it. So first, I'm going to go around and let's give you a chance to introduce yourself and what you do, and then we'll get started with the workshop. So we'll start over here. I'm Sarah. I'm in product development. I have worked a lot for like local food companies, and like really interested in starting my own home. So that's why I'm here. Thank you. Sarah, right? Yeah. My name is Maura, and I'm the community relations manager at the Adult Rehab Center here in downtown. So I do a lot of networking and social media building. So I'm trying to learn everything. You want to go next? Just your name and what you do.
My name is Celia, and I'm an entrepreneur, and right now I'm starting a new business, children's self-defense product, and turning it into brand.
Cool. Okay.
Hi, I'm Jennifer. I have a voice like you.
Yay!
I'm a seller, clean crafted wine, and I also own a business called Simply You I just started. I graduated as an FNCP last year for nutrition. So I'm trying to start a nutrition, wellness, lifestyle brand that includes the direct sales.
Okay, cool.
Hi, I'm Ashley Carnavale. I am a wine consultant as well, just on my team. So I left my corporate job with COVID. I've been home with the kids, working my wine business from home, and now I'm moving into the more leadership development and mindset work outside of just my team.
Cool.
And my goal for 20%.
Nice. Congrats.
Hi guys, I'm Valeria. I have a small shop and I sell crystals that I turn into air covers. A lot of like other little crafts, crystals, for your car, for the house.
Okay. Riley, you want to go?
Oh, hi. I'm Riley. I'm a person who works inside of things. I work with women to really help not only build confidence, but also to show up effectively and 100% as your best. You're welcome.
She's pretty cool. You're all cool.
Hi, my name is Susana. I am a child care provider. I have my own small business, but what I really want to do, not that I don't like child care, I love it, but I really want my own clothing brand. I've always wanted to be a fashion designer, so that's what I'm kind of focused my energy on this year.
Cool. Congratulations. Hi.
Hi, I'm Rita, and nice to be here. Thank you.
Cool.
Hi, I'm Jay. I'm a company called Moving Forward. We do all the floral design and keto garments. We have the shop on 3rd and
All right, thank you. We just did introductions. So we're gonna get started. I have a live here on social, so that's why I talked to you and them. Okay, so let's get started. So how many of you are familiar with productivity practices? Are you trying to learn? Anyone wants to share how it's okay. I think we're all trying, right? For me, it was kind of hard during quarantine. So I came from being like this really good with routine and great with my schedule, and then quarantine hit and it just kind of threw everything off. And so I went from really advocating like how to be organized and productive and all this, and then I had to reevaluate because it made me feel like how many times have I maybe felt made someone feel uncomfortable or like inadequate if they're not, being super uber productive. And it made me think a lot about productivity and how to do it in a way that's, doable and that's personalized to each person. So I started getting more into that and doing more research about it. And this is kind of like some of the stuff that I've learned and that I'm going to be sharing with you as a business owner, because as business owners, we do have a lot on our plates. So let's get started. And in case you don't know me, I'm the founder of this space. Like I said before, I'm a social entrepreneur. So everything that I create always has the agenda to help women thrive. So on top of Femx quarters, we have an online community and we just do a lot of events, or used to do events pre-COVID, to empower women. So today we're going to talk about 4 different themes that are going to help you get more organized and productive with your business. We're going to go over time management methods, deep work, routines, and some apps that can assist you and save you some time. Okay. And if you have any questions or comments, raise your hand. I like to be interactive. I don't just want to give a monologue, so feel free to share if you have a story, a question, a resource, anything like that. All right, so before we get started, I want to share some of these productivity facts because I think we got it twisted, especially if you come from corporate. We do a lot of things that are really kind of toxic. And so one of the things is that we are only productive for about 2 hours and 15 minutes a day. That means that our brain has the capacity to be focused and productive for about that time. So one of the reasons people feel inadequate sometimes is because we're trying to be productive for like 8 to 12 hours and then we can't, and then we get frustrated and then we procrastinate or watch Netflix or whatever. But the truth is that research shows that that's how our brain works. So we have to break work up, and if you're starting your business, keep that in mind. I don't believe in the 9 to 5 system anymore. And so that's something that you can even keep in mind as you grow your teams. The other interesting thing is that, next slide. Okay, so where's the clicker? We had a clicker. Okay, so other research shows that we're not capable of multitasking. So if you ever hear anyone saying, I'm a multitasker, that only means that you're jumping back and forth. So we can't technically actually do 2 things at once. If you're driving, have you ever been driving and then you're like on the phone or something and then you get home and you're like, how did I get here? Like, it was just muscle memory, right? Like, you weren't actually paying attention, so you really can't actually do both things. Or if you can, your attention is not on both things at the same time. But also research shows that it damages our brain. So trying to multitask actually makes you less intelligent. It lowers it actually lowers your IQ. Think about that. It doesn't just make you unproductive in the moment, but it actually lowers your IQ because the way I read about it more and I could get deep into that, but I'm not. But basically, it's destroying some stuff in your brain because you're trying to do things, make connections that can't be made because your brain can't do that. So it also obviously reduces your performance, ability to make connections, and it actually reduces productivity by 40%. So if you are trying to be productive and you're trying to multitask, you're actually doing the opposite. And this means that, and I'm going to talk about this more, but long lists, that's why they don't work. Because when you have like 50 things to do on a to-do list, you're actually trying to multitask, and that's not productive. So I thought I'd share those with you. And then we'll read this quote. So here's a piece of information, and 3 days later, you'll remember 10% of it. Add a picture, and you'll remember 65% of it. So that's something that I want you to keep in mind too as you're creating your schedule and your planner and everything. I color code. I write things big because if I can see things as a picture, it's better than if we just see it as text. It's really hard to memorize or remember text. So things are color coded for me, and they're fun. And they, if you're creating social content, that's why videos work, and pictures are better than just writing. So keep that in mind. All right. So now that we got some of that out of the way, and hopefully you understand why it's so important to create the systems, I want to go over the different time management methods. Is anyone familiar with these methods? With any of them? Yeah? Okay, cool. So I'm going to go over these methods and the differences. So the first one, and I apply all of these, you can combine these. So the first one is time blocking. And time blocking basically means that you save chunks of time to do a certain task. Now, this is effective because when you are saving big chunks of time, now you can focus better. You get in that state of focus, okay? So you notice how there's only like 1, 2, 3, 4 things throughout the day? Like there's not like a gazillion things. Like, I don't know, before I used to schedule like that. Like from 9 to 10, a call. From 10 to 11, another call. From 11 to 1, a meeting. And everything was back to back, and it wasn't doable, right? Like you get so tired in corporate, they make you do that a lot too. And it's really unrealistic, and your brain is all over the place. So make sure that when you're time blocking means you save chunks of time for a specific thing. So make sure when you're time blocking that you're actually doing that, and you don't want to have too many things in one day. Here's another study, and this study shows that so we can be productive for about 2 to 3 hours a day, but it's good to break it up. So basically, our brain, the way that it works is we are really focused. We can be really focused for 90 minutes at a time, and then we need a short break, and then 90 minutes, and then another short break. So after 90 minutes, even if you're going to work on the same thing for 3 hours, every 90 minutes, make sure you actually take a quick 10 to 15-minute break. Okay, so I'm going to talk about task batching. So task batching is basically when you do the same type of task the same time each day. For example, emails, right? Emails, one email could be about a meeting that I have, and another email could be about sending attachments, whatever, but they're similar tasks. Okay, so if they're similar tasks, you can do them at the same time. And I do this with my emails because I hate replying to emails. Who else hates replying to emails? I hate doing it. So I'm like, every morning, I'm going to separate a window of time to do my emails, and that's it. And if people miss me that morning, then they'll have to wait until the next morning when I'm checking emails again. And I used to think especially when I was in corporate, that was because I started that in corporate actually, that new habit. And I thought that people were gonna like notice or be like, why did? Because I used to be the person that wanted to reply like as soon as I came in. I didn't want my inbox to have new emails, and I used to be like that. And then I thought people were gonna notice when I changed, but they actually didn't. I just replied the next day and nobody noticed. So I was like, wow. And if anyone ever like noticed, it was like maybe my boss that just came in my office and was like, hey, I sent you this email, and like then we would talk about it, and that was it, right? But it wasn't like a big deal. Okay, day theming. Day theming, and this is what I do, is a lot. This is mostly what I do. So day theming is when each day is a different theme, and that's what I do, and I color code it. So basically, my Mondays are about business, so that's when I have my business meetings. We talk about strategy, we plan, anything admin we do on Mondays. On Tuesdays, I do like my personal brand because I have a lot of personal projects with my personal brand. And so I work on those on Tuesday. And this is so beneficial because your brain is really focused on one theme, right? So even though within my personal brand, I could be writing something, I could be writing a landing page for my mastermind, or then I could jump to like check emails for that or reply to an email for that. My brain is still thinking Jesse Medina as a personal brand. And on Monday, my brain is thinking Femx Sports, right? And so on. So like Thursdays is my content creation day. That's when I record my podcast. That's when I'm doing videos. And like my brain is just in that mode. So those are the ones. And Fridays, and I really recommend this to do this at the end of the week, is to do analytics. So I do analytics. We talk strategy. We talk what's working, what's not working, anything like that. I do Friday because you're kind of reflecting on the week and the results that you're getting. So that's dating. Any questions about any of these? Okay. Okay, so time boxing is similar. Some people confuse it with time blocking, but time boxing means that you're giving essentially yourself a deadline. So when you're doing time blocking, it just means like, okay, I'm gonna from 2 to 3, I'm gonna write every day, right, or whatever. That's time blocking. Time boxing would mean like from 2 to 3 tomorrow, I'm going to finish the first draft, or from 2 to 3, I'm going to write a new proposal. So now you have like a deadline too, so you're going to make sure that you fit it within that time window. So it's not just writing or just creating social content, it's actually you're like giving it a deadline. So there is this law after a research study that says that work expands to fit the amount of time allotted to it. And according to this study, it's been proven that if you give yourself 2 hours or 2 days to do something, it's going to take you that long. I mean, think about our college years, right? Like when you had a paper due. You had the whole semester, and if you waited until the day before, even if it was like a 20-page paper, I don't know about you, but I could finish it the day before, right? And then I was mad sometimes because I was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. Why didn't I start earlier? Because now I would have more time to make it better. But anyway, the point is that your brain will make it work. And so when you are creating, if you're starting a business, you're creating a plan, whatever, if you tell yourself, like I told myself last year, oh, I'm working on a book proposal, and I told myself, oh, I'll just finish it by the end of the year. It took me that long because I said that, right? I'm pretty sure if I said I'm going to finish it this weekend, I probably would have, right? And then you can always finish it and then make it better too. You can say, well, I did it quickly, but now I have so much time to make it better. So that's the difference with time blocking and time. Shoot, I'm like my words, time boxing. Okay, so that's the difference, and so keep that in mind. And the next thing I want to share is that the I don't even know if I'm saying that, Zeigarnik effect. It states that people tend to remember and finish our incomplete tasks better than completed ones. And I'm sharing this with you because, and I always say it, but I'm showing you the research behind it, it's better to start. So if you're saying, I want to start a business, I want to start this workshop, I want to do this or that, and then you're just always saying it, to your brain is still not a priority. But the moment you get started, and this is why we binge watch Netflix shows too. This is why. Because your brain wants to know the end. Your brain wants to see it through. Your brain is wired to want to see it through. It bothers your brain if it's not done. So if you get started with something, trust me, you're gonna be thinking about it. So just get started on the things that you want to do, and don't get started on like new Netflix shows, right, all the time. But just remember that. So if you get started, you're more likely to finish it. So now I want to talk about deep work because this is really important. So there's a book about it. And basically, it refers to professional activity performed in a state of distraction-free concentration that push your cognitive capabilities to their limits. This is great for work that's creative, for work that requires a lot of focus. Like if you're creating a strategy, you're creating a business plan, you're writing a book, you are running a marketing strategy, anything like that, you want your brain to go into deep work. But that does not have to say, okay, let's go into deep work. It takes a certain amount of time for your brain to get in that mode. And also, I don't know if you've heard, but every time you stop doing a task, it takes your brain about 15 minutes to refocus on that task. So that's why you shouldn't check emails often or get random phone calls. My phone is always on silent, always. can ask her. She's in one of my groups, and she's like, we can send in so many messages. I'm like, hey, I was doing something else. I look at my phone when I want to look at my phone, right? But that helps because your brain is not getting distracted. When you get distracted, it takes you longer to refocus. So when you're doing deep work, that means that you're saying, okay, for the next 3 hours or this whole Saturday morning, I'm gonna write, let's say, right? Can you tell that I'm writing? I'm like, oh my god, sorry about that. But you say that, and then as you get into it, you get into that flow, and then you start creating. Doesn't that happen to you? Like at first, you could be painting, you could be doing anything, you could be designing, and at first you're kind of like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. But then when your brain has enough time to really dive into that task, you're gonna start getting the ideas, you're gonna start getting creative, and because your brain is not thinking about shallow tasks, as he calls it in the book, then your brain can really start coming up with new ideas and making new connections for creativity. Okay, so these are some of the benefits of deep work. High value creative output improves your ability to focus, makes you more efficient, makes you happier. Why does it make you happier? I want to share that. Obviously, the book expands on it. It makes you happier because you're not all over the place. You're getting more core done, and then you have more time with your loved ones. And check out the book if you get a chance. And these are some of the writings from the book that you can look at. Basically, I'm going to share some with the live audience. We're getting hearts from this. Okay, so these are low value activities that anyone can do. And we're going to talk about this because as business owners, we make this mistake all the time, especially when you're starting out, right? Like, I know how to edit podcasts, right? So in the beginning, I was like, oh, I'll just edit my podcast. Like, why pay someone else? Well, that takes a lot of time to do. And it's not my passion, and I'm not trying to market myself as a podcast editor. So to me, that's not a valuable thing to do. Now, if I was a podcast editor, that would be valuable to me, right? But if I just want to speak on a podcast, there's no reason why I should be doing the other tasks. So all these little tasks that are not valuable to you, that are not essential to you, these are some of the tasks that you can delegate or sometimes eliminate, right? Like checking email 5 times a day, you can get rid of that and just check it once. And so these are like big ideas, big opportunities, things that are gonna make a difference in your business, things that are gonna make a difference in your income or in your relationship. You can apply this to anything. So these are some of the concepts. And then we're gonna get into an exercise. So on your worksheet, and you can write these on your journal too. It's up to you, but I just wanted to make sure everyone had something to write on. But exercise number 1 is the first part is I want you to make a list of shallow tasks that you're doing right now in your business. Or like, say you're starting a business. What are some of the shallow tasks? Yeah, if you need a pen too, we have some pens. Anyone else? No? Okay. So what are some of the shallow tasks? Make an exhaustive list of tasks that are just shallow. And this, again, things are not valuable to your business or that anyone could do in your business. Especially things that you're doing every day. That's just kind of like you just know how to do it. You could delegate it, or you could just use an app or whatever it may be. And then if you're listening over here, make a list of shallow tasks, things that you don't need to be doing or you can be delegating. And then when you identify out of those tasks, what are the things that you can delegate? What's busy work that you could find someone on Fiverr for like $5 and ask them to do, right? And the next thing I want you to do is I want you to write down a couple of things that will require deep work. So I want you to write down a couple of projects that you may have right now or you want to start, like a business plan, a social media strategy, your book, your podcast, whatever. Deep work or meaningful work that you want to start or that you're already working on, but you need to get deep focused on. And I recommend you only write down 2. And you can always, once you start getting used to it, you can add more things to that list. But for deep work, I want you to just pick 2 things until you get into the habit of it. That's exercise 2? No, this is all exercise 1. So it just has different. So just 2 projects, you're gonna turn them into deep work. And write down a potential, and this obviously you probably need to look at your planner and whatnot, but potential days where you could do it if you have an idea. If you want to say, you know what, I'm gonna do it. Wait, I'm sorry. Am I? No. Yeah, that is exercise 1 on the worksheet. Okay, so on the worksheet, that would be exercise 2. Obviously, I messed up the slides. So we're doing exercise 2 right now, and then we're gonna go to exercise 1. Wow. Okay. This is why I shouldn't be doing the presentation slides. I should have delegated. Okay, so on exercise 1 or 2, whatever, we're gonna do the first 2. So I want you to identify some time methods that might work for you. So I want you to think about, do you want a day theme? Do you want to time block? Do you want to task batch? Do you want to do all of it? I do 3 of them usually, and then I do writing on Saturdays. So I want you to do a mock-up, and you can change it later, but I want you to start thinking about it. I'll give you like 2 minutes to start thinking about your day, your workflow, your projects, and start thinking of what time management methods you'd like to try. And I can go back to the slide too. So these are all the methods that we talked about, and I want you to start thinking kind of like the way I have it here. You can even draw like a little weekly chart and say Mondays I'm going to focus on this and this and that, like which is day theming, or every day you're going to save different chunks of time, or a combination. We have about 2 minutes for that. Let's see if we have any questions here. Hi everyone. Any questions here? Okay. And let me know if you have any questions as well. I'm going to go through some of the slides if you need a reminder. And I honestly highly encourage you to have one time to check emails. So this is a good time maybe to decide on that. Are you done? Yes? Yeah. Yeah, this is just to kind of get you testing it and getting into it, and then you can always get more detail later, but I want you to start trying it when you have to put it together.
I think this is about the email summary. I think that's really good because with childcare, I get inquiries about we have we have hospitals, and then I feel like I was also using that I would go on to respond right away.
Right.
So that they would think, oh, they're not. But yeah, if you respond every minute,
Yeah. You can never catch up with those emails. Yeah, so she.
I only check it in the morning and then at like
Oh,
5
good.
before I close the day.
Perfect.
Social media, I'm like, oh, it's in order. I better check. I think that would really help.
That's why I have it on Do Not Disturb. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
But then I've got my Facebook like ding, 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 ding. So I gotta figure that out.
You can block the notifications on desktop
Yeah,
too.
I might have to do that.
Yeah. And you're really not missing out. I feel like maybe I miss out on a couple of things, but nothing that I cannot catch up on, right? that I can just reply to later. I can call my friend later.
A day isn't gonna matter, that's still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if it's an emergency, like if it was my mom, like she would just call my phone, right? Like it's like, yeah. But social media is definitely, and the book talks about social media and kind of getting rid of that too, or at least having a schedule and being really good with it. And something for me, I'm really active in social media, so people think I'm like there all the time, but I'm actually not there. I only create my posts. I love creating the content, and then it gets posted, and I'm usually not there. Like when I first post, I'll comment back or whatever for like a few minutes, and then I'm like, okay, bye phone. So that's really important too.
Do you use any of the apps like there's somewhere you schedule your content and then
Yeah, we're gonna go over some of that too. Yeah, definitely. I have to do that because otherwise it wouldn't be, you know, productive. All right, we'll give it a few more seconds and then we'll get to the next thing. And another thing that I'm gonna have you do with this list is I want you to give yourself a deadline for when you're going. Like I know right now you're doing it quickly, but I want you to actually create that schedule. And today is Monday, so maybe you can stay and like actually do it. Plan out your week and also plan time on Friday or Saturday or Sunday to examine your week. So you can always, look back and say, how am I doing? How am I keeping up? Do I need to change anything? What worked this week? What didn't work this week? That's really important too. Any other comments or questions as you were doing this exercise that you want to share? We have shy students. Okay, okay, okay.
I was going to comment on the company law to get back to the corporate world. It's funny that a lot of companies don't really look at because I know when I had a 3 or 4 day work week, that's when now you get more done in those days than you would in a normal week.
Yeah.
But they know every day your employees know that they have to be there all the way until 3:30 or 5 or whatever it is. And they're going to fill that time.
Yep.
Especially if there's no incentive to bring like do new programs and bring new systems in.
Right. Yeah, people scroll on Facebook so much in corporate, on LinkedIn, whatever it may be. And then they find things, some people, the people that want to be good employees, right? They'll try to find things to do, but it's actually things that are not bringing any results. So it's kind of pointless, right? And that's what happens because your brain is trying to fill in that gap of time. And this is why, I could rant forever about the current system that we have, both educational and corporate systems that we have. But it's actually like stealing our time with our families, leisure time, time just to relax, which is actually counterproductive. It's actually, they're wasting money, they're paying you money they don't need to pay you, especially for hourly workers. And so it's kind of like, yeah, I could rant about it, but I'm not. So the next thing I want to talk about is healthy routines. So kind of going back to what we're saying right now, maybe in corporate it wasn't appreciated or valued, but as entrepreneurs, it's extremely important that we value this. And I can tell you as an entrepreneur that when I was starting out, obviously I went through the burnout phase because one, you're trying to do everything and sometimes you have to do everything. Most of us don't have like $1 million funding, accounts where like we can hire a huge team, right? So in the beginning, you're gonna have to do a lot of things and wear a lot of hats. And it's really easy to get burn out. And even if you do have a job, it's really easy to burn out, especially in the US. I'm actually from Argentina and people there, everyone takes a nap. Like everyone goes home, eats lunch with their family, and takes a nap. And so, believe it or not, that's a big break for your brain. And now you're spending time with your loved ones. So that makes a difference, right? So I think that's one of the reasons why in the US stress levels are so high because of this. And so it's really important. And I hope you're looking at me right now and you're remembering this, especially if you're starting a business. Do not forget that the time that you invest in your health and your personal care is time that you're investing into your business. Because if you burn out, you are your business. And so if you're not being, if you're not healthy, if you're not feeling well, you're not going to be able to function. And so these are some of the techniques that, I know now we're a little bit more aware of these things and conscious about these things. So I'm not going to talk too much about it, but obviously meditation increases focus, memory, and productivity. And there's a gazillion studies that you can look up that show that. Also growth mindset. So if you are one of those people, and I don't think anyone is, but if you're one of those people that when you hear growth mindset or talks like that, it's like, oh, that's just all like self-help stuff, whatever. I'm more about science and stats and everything like that. There's actually studies that show that having a growth mindset, and you can call it positive thinking, and you can call it anything else depending on what you believe in, but studies show that it actually does help, and that employees and business owners that have a growth mindset actually perform better. And the reason for that is because you are more positive, because you think that you can do it, and therefore you do it, right? As compared to someone that maybe doesn't believe in that stuff, that's okay, but they're more likely to just not get started, right? To be less driven, to get discouraged or quit sooner. And sometimes for a business, you might be quitting right before it takes off. That happens with businesses all the time. There's also studies, and I wish I had a graphic for that, but it just popped in my head. There's a study that shows that there are so many businesses that quit right before they hit that next big opportunity. That's the reason we always hear that most small businesses fail within the 2 years, right? Within 2 years. And if they don't, then they make it. And we only hear that. But when you read more of those studies, when they're saying that, what they're saying is that a lot of businesses just quit right before hitting that success point. And so you have to have a lot of grit, and you have to be willing to keep going and not give up. And that's really important. Also, sleep. Your sleep matters. A lot of people, when we're talking about productivity, we think about our daytime, right? We know sleep matters, but we don't think about that when we're talking productivity, right? We're just like, oh, what else can I do? I need a planner, and I need this and that. But the way that you slept the night before matters. And it's not just about hours. So you can get 8 hours of sleep and not get good rest. I mean, can anyone? I think we've all experienced that. So the reason why sleep quality matters is because your brain is operating throughout the day based on your quality of sleep. And you can sleep 5 hours and have a better night's sleep than 8 hours sleep. So make sure, and we're going to go over some sleep routines to help you get good rest. Yeah. Oh no. Yes. Which then also, yeah, super important. And then obviously diet and exercise. Again, I'm not gonna go deep into that. There's a gazillion research that show that if you are healthy, you have more energy, you're gonna perform better. Creativity and leisure. So creativity for me is I literally have a morning routine activity that is just creative work. And I was talking about this on a panel once, and I was sharing that I doodle sometimes as part of my morning routine. And they're like, doodle? I've never heard that one. And the guy was like, I literally read so many books of experts and stuff, and nobody has ever said doodle before. But doodling, for me at least, is a fun, creative activity. And that can be something else for you, right? But just doodling, and sometimes I come up with my best ideas when I'm doodling. So I love it. But just come up with something creative to do when you're creating your routines. Something that's going to get your brain not thinking about work, but thinking about something fun, something you want to paint, something you want to color. Just be a kid, in other words. Just be a kid. Okay, so healthy relationships matter, and then your environment matters, right? So if you're in an office that's all messy, and that there's trash all over the place, kind of like my messy office back there right now, it's not helpful, right? It's not conducive. You're still gonna get work done, but it kind of distracts you too. So make sure that you're in a place that inspires you, and it doesn't have to be fancy. Just make sure that it inspires you. And if you're a creative, that could be like a bunch of pictures on a wall, right? It doesn't have to be like a minimalist thing necessarily, but just make sure that it's something that inspires you. Okay, so the next exercise, I want you to take action. That's what we're doing together right now. So I want you to actually do these things because I don't want you to go home and forget about it. So I actually want you to think about your day right now, your week, and I want you to pick 3 things that you could improve on. So think about maybe the quality of your sleep, maybe a toxic relationship or boundaries, or maybe it's you want to get to bed earlier, or you want to start a morning routine if you don't have one, right? Think about 3 areas where you could improve right now and write them down on exercise 3. And that one, thankfully, that one is right. Just 3 things that could improve. You don't need to write what you're going to do to fix them. Just 3 things that you could improve. Bless you. And once you have the 3 areas that you would like to improve, I want you to pick 3 morning habits and times, but keeping those areas in mind. So, for example, if you want to get more fit, maybe fit some workout during your morning routine, right? Or if you want to read more, then maybe part of your morning routine is, reading for an hour. If you want to meditate, right, like that could be part of your morning routine. So pick 3 things as morning habits. And the reason I'm saying 3 is because remember, we want to keep it simple. We don't want long lists. So 3 things that, like, just 3 for now that you want to improve, and 3 things that you can do in the morning to work on those things. And then I want you to think of 3 nightly habits that can help you improve your sleep, that can help you feel better. For me, I have to drink chamomile tea now. Like when I was in corporate, I used to have a lot of insomnia. And then when I became an entrepreneur, it wasn't like bad insomnia. It was more like my creative brain just wanted to think of ideas. Like I would just lay in bed, like staring at the ceiling, thinking of ideas. And then my fiance would look at me like, are you still awake? And so eventually he's like, this is a problem. Like you need to go to sleep. And so drinking chamomile tea is like a natural way for me to, to feel more relaxed. And that is part of my morning ritual. I mean, my night ritual. Like every night at 8 p.m. or 8:30, unless some of my friends are keeping me up a little bit later. She didn't catch that. But yeah, I try to do that. So pick 3 things that you want to do at night as a ritual. And that can be like your skincare routine, maybe watching a show before bed, but make sure it doesn't happen, 3 hours within the 3 hours before bed. So you don't want to be watching shows or being on your phone like past 7 or 8 p.m. So make sure that if you're gonna do that, that's gonna be a way that you wind down, that you do it earlier, like right after dinner. How are we on time? Who has the time? Oh. And then I want you to write down a why statement for this. And I didn't write it here, but I think it'll be interesting if you write why you want to do this, because this is going to encourage you to actually put it into practice. So for me, it's like I deserve to get a good night's sleep, right? My creative brain deserves to rest. So write down why you want to do these things. And then write down the desired outcomes. How do you want to feel, right? Like now that you've implemented pretend like it's already happened, right? So now you've implemented these new routines and you're more productive. What is the desired outcome? You're more productive, you're more alive, you are more rested, whatever it may be. Write down the outcomes that you'd like to see. Okay, any comments or questions about this exercise, or does anyone want to share what they're going to implement? That's good for accountability, by the way, if you say it out loud too. So, go ahead.
So prior to the quarantine lockdown, I would always wake up at 6. I would run, and I'd be back home by 7. Then I would get my son out and do like the school routine. He was in school by 8:05. That was his bell. So by 8:30, that I got back home, I had already exercised, I had my son out the door, and then I would spend an hour journaling, writing, just really kind of going over my day, how I wanted it. It was great.
Right.
And that hasn't happened now for more than a year or almost a year. Now I stay up late, I'm a lot more on my phone. I don't get up until I absolutely have to get in the front of the computer. I really want to reclaim that time for myself to meditate and journal, be up with the sunrise. As someone with adult ADHD, which most of us have, but I love that quiet space is so valuable to me, but I just found it so difficult to get back to it. Since we own most of our time now, it's like, I'll just do this, I'll do that, or I'll do this time.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to, I work for the years integrity, so I really want to just be more like honor the things that I know that are going to be to my benefit, and I want to be more respectful and just value my own time. Like when somebody puts me on a schedule, but when I own my own time, I'm like, yeah, this is wait.
Right, right.
I just want to honor myself
Yeah.
more, and I want to honor myself and just do the things that I know have proven to be beneficial for me, and just kind of get back at it and embrace this, mindset of like, well, we can go the other stuff. Like I feel like I'm gonna do some stuff, so we can just be like,
Yeah. Good. Thank you for sharing. That happened to me too. I lost my routine during quarantine, but it's time to reclaim it. Yeah. And we can reclaim it differently, right? For me, it was different because I used to wake up at 4:30 in the morning back then, and now I don't. And it's not my plan to do so. And if my body, because before I would do that automatically, if my body wants to start doing that again, great. But I'm not gonna force it either, like before. Um, but I have given myself now a new routine that works for the times we're in, and that can change, right? Everything that we create can change, but we do want to create some habits. So we're not going to change it every day. Like, oh, today I wake up at 10, tomorrow I wake up at 12. Like, we want to create some habits, but if things happen and our lifestyle changes, that's okay to change them. Okay, any other comments or questions before we move on?
I need a better schedule. I plan to start at 9 every night, and I'm on September. So it's not currently, clearly. So I would actually love to, my kids are the same, they stay up later than society says children should. So I'd like to incorporate them into some of my routines as a way to be each other's accountability partners and to do these things together.
That's awesome. Yeah. And yeah, I used to be like that. So chamomile tea helps too because it relaxes you. And then lavender, I light up a lavender candle. So there's little tricks like that that help if you have a brain that's super hyperactive. All right, let's move on. We're going to talk some apps because technology does help too, right? It's not just, it has some bad things, but it also helps. And that's why it was created in the first place. So I want to go over a couple of apps. The way we're going to do apps is I'm going to quickly go over them because a lot of people might already be familiar with them and whatnot. But if you have any specific questions about a specific app, then I'll go around and answer questions. So let me go over real quick over these. So planning and scheduling, I'm going to recommend the ones that I use. There are other ones out there, and if you have a recommendation, feel free to share. So this is not exhaustive, but it's just these are some of the ones that I love. So first of all, I love Calendly, and I almost didn't put it in the list, but I feel like a lot of people, I thought it was common sense, but a lot of people don't know about it. Actually, a lot of people ask me about it. So if you don't know what Calendly is, it's a way that you can schedule time with other people without going back and forth through email. So basically, instead of saying, "Oh, I have time Monday at 10," and then they reply maybe hours later, "Oh, I have time Monday at 5," and then it's like, "Never mind, let's do Tuesday." Instead of the back and forth, which actually takes up time, you can send them your link, and I put a picture here. So you can send them your link, and I have multiple links, right? So I pick when I share my links. So for example, I had like if people are like, "I want to have a lunch date with you." I know like I'm gonna send them my link, but that link is already set up, so they can only pick times from like 12 to 1, right? On Monday through Friday. So I know that I'll send them that link, and they don't know that, but they'll only see me available for that window of time. So they can't schedule a 3-hour lunch. It's not like you're just giving them your calendar, right? And also, I pick what days. For my podcast interviews, I only do them on Thursdays. So when I send my podcast interview link, they'll only see Thursday availability. Even if they're like 6 months from now, they'll only see that day because I don't want my brain to be doing that any other time. So that's the beauty of it. You can create multiple links. You can customize everything, the times and the dates, and it's just super helpful. And all I have to do is just like even through DMs, like I don't have to be doing the email thing. I can just be like, here, this is where you schedule it, and you just send your links. So I love that one. The next thing is Google, all the Google apps. I mean, I use them all because they sync with everything. So also you can share it with other people, and they, in real time you can be working on editing and whatnot. So this is just like an example template, right? You can do things like event management or campaigns, like if you're launching a campaign for your business, or even a timeline for a product launch, anything like that. You can create with these sheets. You can use Google Forms. Who uses Google Forms? Anyone? I use Google Forms a lot, right? And then you can capture emails for your business through there. So there's a lot of cool features that you can use through there, and it saves you so much time.
What's this one about?
This is just a Google Sheets. So it's basically like Excel. Pretty much, it's like Excel, but um, but it's on Google. So it's like more modern, and then you can share and work with other people,
It's
etc.
called Google Sheets.
Yeah.
Google Suite and so have
Yeah.
docs, sheets, slides, just like it's converting that like Microsoft online for
Yeah.
everyone. If you have a Mac or an Apple, that way, like my husband, we have a very divided home. My PC, he's out.
Yeah.
It's a war. So we can Google the Suite platform, so we can share things with each other, really with kids or, you know, our
Yeah.
financial spreadsheet with our budget.
And then it's free because
Yeah.
Microsoft, you have to pay for the suite. But also, like, I like the live, yeah, like people, we could be editing the same document. It's the thing that I created for our group too. So anyway, so it's really cool. Check it out. If you have any questions, I'm gonna come around, and if you want, if this is one of the ones that you pick, then I can show you more. Okay, Airtable. I love Airtable. I recently started using it, so I'm not a pro at it. But Airtable is really cool, especially for visual people and creative people, because it's kind of like project management. But the really cool thing about it is that you can drag things across. So basically, like I have a project. This is not the best speech after that. But you have a project, right? Let's say that this project is a marketing campaign, and you have different columns, right? So within these columns, you have different things that you want to do, like milestones that you want to hit. And so what happens is, once this is done, like right now it's in the in progress column. Once this is done, you can drag it to the review if you're working with other people, or it could just be done, or it could just be like design if you need to create a design, or it could be like draft or whatever it may be, but you can like literally be dragging things over, and then you can see it in different views too, so you can see the progress and the deadlines. Like this is like quarter 1, right, and quarter 2, and so on. So it's really really cool, and you can color code and everything. I'm loving it. It's a little more advanced, so I'm still learning from it, but I already love it. So I recommend it for project management. It gives you, it's a good visual way, like kind of like how your brain remembers visual stuff better to remind yourself to work on a certain project.
It's a scheduler.
It's like it's not a scheduler. You could use it, yeah, you can use it as a scheduler actually if you want to. You can pretty much format it different ways, so you could do that. I haven't used it.
Oh my gosh, it's just, there's so many like dynamics to it that when you're training someone to like actually use that site, it takes
It's
up
too
so
much.
time.
Yeah.
That's way more.
It's not super. I mean, it still has tricky things like that, but yeah, try it and test it. Asana is kind of like a teamwork type of thing where you're like collaborating with other people on projects, and this is great. I used it in corporate, so when you, especially when you have multiple teams, this is great because you can assign tasks to people. So different people are in charge of different things, and then they can check click it off, or I can, like say I'm a supervisor, I can say okay, this got done, that got done, whatever. But everybody can see what people are working on, and you can comment on the different tasks. If you need something, like you can tag people, like I could be like this person doing the media plan, and I can tag, I don't know, Susie because I need a file for that, right? So I can just tag her in that comment, and then she can like upload the file or whatnot. So it's super cool, especially if you're working with other people, but you can also use it yourself. Why is it not going? Okay, so I'm gonna go over some social media apps, and again, we're gonna come back and whatever you want to work on, we can talk about it more. Whatever you decide. I just don't want to talk too much about things that maybe everyone knows about. Okay, so let's talk about some social media apps now. So these again are the ones that I use. There are some more out there. So I've used Planoly before. I started with Planoly as far as like scheduling social media and planning. I still recommend it to people. I personally don't use it anymore, but I still recommend it to people, especially if you're just starting to create a social media plan. It is good because it does help you keep organized. Now I have my own personal system, so for me, I don't use it anymore, but I do recommend it. And essentially, it is an app that helps you plan your content. So you can upload your photos, you can type what you're gonna say for the whole week, and then it'll be done. Like you don't have to worry about it later. So that one's cool. I currently use a color story because I like to plan visually. So I like to see how my feed is gonna look. So a color story looks just like your Instagram feed, but you can drag and move things around the posts. Go ahead.
Are all these free or?
These are free. Plan you with most of these you can always upgrade to get more features. But all the apps that I'm sharing are free initially, right? Like if you're just doing something basic. Um, okay, so Color Story, I love it because it lets me do filters and stuff. So like I could upload a photo and say, this is kind of dark compared to the rest of my photos, but they have filters and I have my favorite ones that I use all the time. So I can just go and click and all of a sudden that photo looks like my other photos. So that's really easy. There's also other apps that do that. A lot of apps have filters and stuff like that. But as far as like planning it, I like that I can visually plan all the content that way. For editing, I'm gonna recommend a few of the things. A color story again, I use that for editing. But also I use Photoshop or like Adobe apps. I use Spark, which I didn't put it up here. Yes, I didn't put it. Okay, so I'm missing Spark and the Canva in here. But to edit graphics, to create content, you can use Canva or you can use Adobe Spark. And again, if you want to upgrade, you can always upgrade to have more features on those things, but initially it's free. And then analytics. So for analytics, I always use the platforms that I'm on. So if I'm on my website, I look at my website analytics. If I'm on Instagram, I look at those analytics. But always make sure that you're using your analytics to guide your decisions about the things that you are going to do, whether it's a content that you want to create, whether it is, a website, your visitors, your strategy, etc. Oh, and then for editing video, sorry, I was gonna say I love InShot. There are many other apps that you can use, and even iPhones have another free app. I don't have an iPhone, I can't remember the name of it. What's the name of the iPhone app? There's like one that just you can edit your videos on there. Yeah, like iMovie, yeah. So you can use that too. I use InShot and I love all the features that it has. So if any of these apps you're curious about and you want to try them, what we're going to do right now in exercise 4 is you're going to say, oh, I want to try this planning app or I want to try this Google Sheets or whatever it may be. So I want you to download that or pull it up on your computer or your phone. So that way you can look at it. And if you have questions, I can explain it to you personally. Yeah.
When you do a color story, does it have to be on a phone?
A color story, no. Planoly you can. And you can also use Hootsuite too. It's really good on desktop. The thing I don't like about Hootsuite, and I don't recommend it because it gets kind of pricey, but also because it posts from your desktop, it actually messes up with the quality of the photo. So anytime you're posting from desktop, that's usually gonna happen. So it's really hard to keep the quality when like those automated apps are posting from the desktop. But you can still plan the content on the desktop and then still upload it from your phone if you want to keep the quality. Especially with like professional photos like the ones you have, they would get grainy with that feature. So I personally don't recommend that because I care about that. Okay, so any questions so far about any like a general question? No? Okay. I also have, I'm gonna do like self promo here, but this is actually free, so whatever. It's a tool. Um, the desk is shaking. I guess there's some vibration in the ground quality construction or something. Anyway, this is I have this free content planner. So this helps you come up with a strategy. So before you start, whether you pick a color story, Planoly, whatever app you pick to use, it's good to have a strategy, right? Like you never want to just be posting whatever thing. So I created this content strategy thing, which really just asks you a lot of questions and it helps you look at your analytics and it helps you just plan your content. So if you go to jessiemedina.com, it's literally just at the top, it says free content planner and you can just download it and it's like a worksheet. It's more like it's a few pages of you can just write down the stuff that you want to do. So I totally recommend that. And if no, you can always just go and Google content strategy, but this is kind of like all in one place. So okay, and then I use some financial things because one, I'm not a bookkeeper. I hate bookkeeping. And so I use QuickBooks and any products that they create because otherwise I would not stay organized. So as far as financial and business goes, I do recommend that you do pay some of these apps too, like QuickBooks, you can pay for it. But it's not a lot and it's a lot cheaper than hiring a bookkeeper, right? Like when I was in corporate, we had a bookkeeper. I never had to think about that stuff. I could do my creative work. If you're a business owner, you have to think about the numbers. So I use QuickBooks as a quick way to do it, and then at the end of each quarter, I hire someone to do my taxes. But now they have all the information there, and you can take photos of your receipts, or you can track your mileage, etc. You can do a lot with it. So I recommend that. Also, going back to Google Sheets, you can create reports on there too. Um, I use my website and CRM analytics for financial stuff. So if I want to track, for example, on my website, like the income that we're making, the losses that we're having, anything like that, usually websites have those reports. And then I use Truefill, which I just discovered recently. And that one I love because I have an account for my personal life and I have an account for my business. And it literally syncs with your bank. You can connect it to your bank and it picks up on anything, any subscription that you have, which is great for me and I think for a lot of us because we sign up to a bunch of things, monthly subscriptions, and then we forget about them, right? Anybody does that? And so this thing will show you all your subscriptions here, and when the next payment is like Netflix, like the next payment and how much it is, right? So as you're seeing this, like I just look at it once a week on Fridays, and as I see this, I may think like, oh, you know what? I'm not even using a color story anymore. Like, I'm gonna get rid of that, and then you just click on it in the app, and it will cancel it for you. So it's kind of cool, but it does other financial stuff too. Like it shows you like your balance for all your banking. So like if I connect my business bank, I also have other ways that my business creates income, not just through bank, right? So like I can connect other things too to it, and it will show me all of it, like a snapshot of what's happening, how much is gonna come out. It shows you future payments for the month. So like it'll say like you have like $500 coming out in a week, right, out of your bank, and this is how much money you have. I don't know, I just love it. Because I'm not a financial person, it helps me stay super organized with financial stuff since I don't have like a finance department, right? So it's really interesting. Okay, so now that's gonna be the exercise. What we're gonna do is, I'm sure some of you, like you might like one app, you might like another. So I encourage you to pull up on your phone or computer the apps that you want to try and write them down too. And then I'm gonna give you a couple minutes just to look at them, and like if you have questions, I could come to you and kind of show you. But I want you to think about what would be most helpful to you right now. Like, where are the gaps? Where are the places where you can improve, or the places that could help take your business to the next level or your personal productivity to the next level. And I'll go through the slides so you remember some of these. So once you have like you can pick 2 or 3 that you wanna try, and then do you know which one you're gonna try? Mm-hmm. Nice. Do you have any questions about any of them? I'll come over. So something I want to share is there are apps that share directly to Instagram, like they post it for you. But I don't recommend those apps because Instagram actually punishes you for using those apps. Like they don't want any third-party apps logging into Instagram. So even if whatever app you decide to use for scheduling, social media, even if they have the feature to auto post for you, which is usually a paid feature, you still don't want to do that. You can schedule it, you can plan it, and what it does, it gives you a reminder. But then I personally manually post it. And that saves you the chance to get banned by Instagram because it will ban you and then you just don't know. But it means like people are not seeing your content and stuff. So I don't recommend auto posting, but I do recommend scheduling your posts. And you can still put the caption you're gonna use and the date and everything. And then once you're ready, you just save it and post it yourself.
Jesse, I wanted to add that note. Remember we talked about it yesterday as well. So even some like the analytic apps, I was having a lot of problems with Instagram. I kept getting locked out. And then even when I wasn't getting locked out, I kept getting a pop-up saying that there was like funny activity on my account. And so my account kept being frozen just for like the day. And then every time I got locked out, all my drafts, the reels, and my posts all got deleted. It was awful. And I couldn't understand why they were doing this to me. And through our conversation yesterday, I realized it's because I was using the analytics app even though it wasn't auto posting, it was tracking
Yeah.
the insights from IG, and IG didn't like that either.
Yeah.
So once I stopped using it, I stopped having it happen. But I never realized that they were part of it.
The only place you can do that is Facebook, because Facebook is owned by, or Instagram is owned by Facebook. So you can plan on Facebook and do things like that. But Instagram doesn't want any other parties, third-party apps. And so anytime that you have to log in and like they do something for you, Instagram just sees it as a bot, and you might as well be buying followers or something like that. That's how they'll see it, and they'll just ban you, shadow ban you. So I recommend not using that feature.
Can you explain what's the difference between a ban and a shadow ban? You mentioned it yesterday, but I don't know what a shadow ban is.
You just don't know about it. It's like behind the scenes, right? So like it's just you notice your engagement goes down or things are weird or whatever, and you just like don't understand what it is. But it just means like Instagram is kind of like putting your profile at the bottom of their list, right? So like your followers are not going to see it as much, or they would have to type on your name to see it. So it looks like your account is fine, but it's getting blocked.
How about things like any tree?
So that's actually a really good question. I literally just changed last week. I changed my Linktree link to my personal website because before Linktree would get away with it because it was just like a link. Now Instagram is even seeing them as a bad app, and so what I'm doing now is you can create a landing page so that you post to your website, and it could, like for me, I haven't done this yet, but because I just fixed it, but I want to create a page that's just jessimedina.com/IG, right? And then I put that link on IG, but it's still leading to my website. But on that landing page, it'll look just like a link tree kind of thing, right? You can still design it so that it's just buttons and whatnot. It doesn't look like a website, but at the same time, you'll be able to, to not get banned. So I guess, yeah, Instagram is now cracking down on those too, which is really sad because I love those. But ultimately, it is better if they're going to your website anyway, right? I mean, if you really think about it, if people are going to your website, they might click on other things. You're capturing, at least your Google Analytics on your website is capturing their information, right? Like at least it knows how many visitors you're getting, things like that. With Linktree, they capture information, but those people are not really going to your website anyway, right? So they're not going to your home anyway. So yeah, so with Linktree now, it is good for you to create a landing page on your website, and then Instagram wants to see that. Also, I didn't get verified. The only reason I didn't get verified is because I had Linktree on my bio. They don't want a link to anything else, any other apps, but your website is fine because that's you, right? So do that. Even no YouTube, no TikToks, anything like that. So make sure that you're not doing that. And also, since I mentioned TikTok, do not be reposting TikToks with the TikTok logo because Instagram will ban you for that too. They don't like it either. So they just want to monopolize. Yeah, that's the best way to do it. Yeah. So you don't want the logo on there. I even like deleted like all TikToks I had shared because yeah, it is. And obviously they hate TikTok, so that's why they're doing that too. Yeah, you can do it through Facebook. Yeah. I don't know about that one, Sync Share. I'll have to look into it. That's good to know. Yeah, if it's a Facebook one, because you can schedule on Facebook too, like they're fine with that. Oh yeah, you can do that. That's safe. Yeah. Even like right now, I'm live casting this, and I can do it on anything but Instagram. I have to use my phone on Instagram because they want me to be on my account. They don't want me to share a simple link with our live audience on other stuff. So anyway, any other questions about the apps that you picked? How to use them? Anything like that? Are we good? I want to hear. I'm interested in here. I'm gonna go around and let you share what apps you picked.
I looked down the Insta, Facebook, the Noble, and
What about you?
I'm still on, Truebill.
Okay. I love
was
Truebill.
like, wait a minute.
Right?
Eye-opening.
Yeah, I love Truebill. It's like my newest discovery. I'm like, yes.
My biggest issue is like financial apps, so
Mhm.
QuickBooks, Truebill, and then I am doing my college degree.
Um, I'm trying to do video editing, so I'm looking at all of those.
Okay.
I prefer my desktop. I don't want that. I work on computer.
Right, right.
So I have a feeling I'm gonna need both, right? So if I wanna edit live, I downloaded the InShot here to
Mhm,
see if I
mhm.
like it from my phone, from my
Mhm,
house.
yeah.
Then I'm looking at stuff on the PC for when I'm at home.
Mm-hmm.
I think this will be helpful for when I'm doing recipe videos.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Meal replacements.
Yes. For
you know,
YouTube,
exercise.
desktop is way better.
Yeah.
So for desktop, I use Filmora.
Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm. I love that one. It's just like if I do
I
YouTube.
have an app on my phone for that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't like their phone app, but yes, you can do it too. But yeah, Filmora is good for desktop, and it's cheaper than getting like I also have Adobe Premiere, so you can always use that, but it's expensive. And so I like Filmora for that.
Yeah, my husband has Ivory, like I'm not editing your stuff anymore, like I have my own job.
Yeah.
So I gotta figure this out.
Oh, you were lucky that he was doing that because that's so time consuming. You can always outsource to like on Fiverr, you know?
Oh, I will not use Fiverr anymore. I had nothing.
Oh, no,
I
okay.
paid money and what they give me that are crap that my 5-year-old can do. So
Oh,
I won't
no,
use it anymore
okay.
because I think it's not the
Mhm.
way it used to be,
Mhm.
unfortunately.
Yeah, okay. That's good to know.
No, they tried to do my logo. I paid $50 to different people, and what I got looks like lotus flowers from WordPress.
Oh,
I'm
no.
like, excuse me,
Oh, no.
my kid could copy and paste
Mhm.
word art in
Yeah.
Microsoft Word.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I just been a little uncomfortable
Okay.
on that part of it, yeah.
What I've done before too with YouTube specifically is you can look at a creator that you like their edits, and you can always ask like, "Hey, who's editing your videos?" Because then like you know their work ahead of time, right? So that's really helpful. Yeah. Oh yeah, at work. Mhm. 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 Yeah. Good. Next. Well, sorry. What was your? What was Ashley? Okay. What were your apps? Mhm. Yeah. Mhm. Yes, it is.
Definitely paying attention to the outside
Mhm. Mhm.
doing a training that is the people who are teaching it, who are actually doing Wednesday or doing like Facebook and Instagram covering it.
Oh,
Really fun. They were
yeah.
talking about this app
Mhm.
specifically for Instagram.
Mhm.
And irritable.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Riley?
I definitely want to try color story. I think I tried using it for a while ago and just kind of fell off in it, but I'm gonna check it out again. And then definitely, oh, Canon. I
Mhm.
have a Canon account. I don't remember. I have stuff somewhere. I don't remember what happened. I was
Mhm.
trying to it. But I keep hearing that it's
Yeah.
one of the better ones. I definitely I want to refine my account.
And Calendly is cool too for you, for example. And I don't know if you work it this way, but if you wanted to have like you know how I have all the different links. If I wanted to have one that's like a styling session or something, you can also set up payments, you know, behind the scenes, and then when they book that, if it's a session that's paid, right? Like my podcast interview is free, right? But if I was doing a strategy session that's paid, you can even set it up through there. You don't have to, and I don't because I have it on my website. But for some people, that's super easy because then they can't even book you until they pay, and then it just happens automatically, and you don't even have to worry about that. So that's another good way, especially if on your website you're not receiving payments yet or whatnot. It's super helpful.
Definitely food knowledge because I spend a lot of time through the week.
Hmm.
Trying to create
Hmm.
takes too long and then
Okay.
I
Good.
write everything.
Okay. Yeah. Nice. I know. I just used to always lose receipts, and I'm like, there's no way I can keep receipts anymore. Like, who does that?
And then it's also like where you're gonna put all those
Yeah. Yeah. It's so
my
wasteful.
husband has a sword for his, so at the end of the year, he just come up and that's what
Yeah, so with the app, you can just literally just take photo of it and then forget about it. In fact, sometimes I just ask for an email too. Like I don't like paper, so I only like paper planners. I do need like physical planners though, but that's not that wasteful because you keep it for a year. So it's like so. Okay, sorry, I had to say that.
why would I use I
Mhm.
know I have like a photo
Yeah.
for all
Mhm. Yeah.
but instead I didn't think about all the work that I can have to do in one day, which is planning like how much did I spend versus how much did I make versus this and that.
Mhm.
Uh, for fashion, I want to learn from my mistakes, and now that I've started putting meaning on that, I want to learn it.
Cool. Perfect. Vika? Yeah. It's a lot of fun. Mhm. 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 Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. And you really limit the people on where they can access you for how long and yeah. Cool. Jay?
Just downloaded the colors right, and it's just what frustrates me, not about this app, but about my process and not being able to plan things, is that all of my content's on my computer, so it's like constantly getting into my phone,
Mhm.
and I just can't
Mhm. So one thing that you can do,
across devices.
going back to Google, right? I use Google Drive. So if anyone is sending you photos, like your photographer, like advertising agencies or whatever, you give them a link to that Google Drive specifically, and then all your photos will be there. So then when you're on your phone, you can access that from your phone too. So you just have to download the Google Drive app, and then all your photos essentially are on your phone now. And it's good because you don't have to download them. You only download the photos that you need. So you're not even using up all your phone space, but you do have access to it, and it doesn't shrink them or anything. So I would recommend Google Drive for that.
I guess for example, like once say like an album comes in from a photographer and if it was uploaded on Drive, like I decipher them and then I make a folder of what I'm using and what I'm not.
Mhm.
And I can do that on Drive.
Yeah, yeah, you can do that, and then you have it on everywhere.
Because it's only $49.99 my collection is free. But I pay at the top of the line with no storage, it's $4 a month.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not
I
bad.
got extra. I think it took me like a whole year though to run out of space for me.
Yeah, it's a bit while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but then you can always pay extra. Like she said, it really is like I don't know, $50 a year or something. Like it's not that bad with Google Drive. So all right. Well, any other questions or comments? How are we feeling? How do you feel right now? Do you feel good? Do you feel like you have? Okay, good. Hmm. Yeah. So I encourage you to stay if you want and like actually plan, right? Like actually, even if you could just plan out your week, applying the things that we've talked about, because it takes time to create a habit, right? It takes about 3 weeks or more. So if you leave right now, you might forget a lot of things. So you just even sit and like work on your schedule for the week. And now you have an example. So next week when you do it again, you can like do the same thing or something similar and start discovering what works for you. Or if you don't do it here, go home. But try to do it today. I recommend that because if you apply it right away, you'll remember it and it'll be easier for you. And I would love to hear you know, how it went for you too. So if you want to tell me, like, I'd love to hear that. I'd love to hear success stories. And also, I put some stars here, so I want you to like put how many stars of how you're feeling, right? Like, is this how did this exercise make you feel? Because that's really important to always be gauging how you're feeling, how a process helps you, and hopefully it's all 5 stars. I can feel good. Alright, everyone, thanks for watching. That's us. Well, that was the first my live. I just want to end this. Oh yeah, we should see. Thank you. That's a great idea. Let's do a group photo. What I'll do is let me go back to the main. Oh, let me end this live too. I have like way too many live streams. Okay. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching. Yeah, I don't want to be rude to the audience on there.